Schedule F is dead, according to an executive order President Biden signed last Friday. 3 other executive orders the president signed affect the federal workforce, too. Tony Reardon is president of the National Treasury Employees Union. Tony, welcome. Thanks for coming back on the program. Are you confident that Schedule F is really dead now, that this is going to go away for the foreseeable future?
Well, first of all, Francis, thank you for having me. And with regard to your question about Schedule F, actually, we're not aware of any employees being moved to Schedule F. In fact, the closest was OMB, which apparently had their list approved by OPM, but that's really as far as it ever got. President Biden's executive order orders agencies to rescind any work done on Schedule F. And I should also add that we are aware of talk in Congress to try to prevent something like Schedule F from ever happening again.
Is there an opportunity, given that Congress wants to work on this, and I have heard even from some Republican members that they were not thrilled about the idea of Schedule F, against it, is there an opportunity here to bring organizations like you and your colleagues in the federal employee representation community and others together to try to figure out what to do next about the hiring process and the disciplinary process? All of these issues that people have agreed for years could use an update, but nobody could agree on how to do that.
Well, I would simply say, Francis, that NTEU is always open to discussions about those kinds of issues. I think what is abundantly clear, and I think very, very important, is that employee representatives like NTEU have a seat at the table because, as you know, for example, with NTEU, we represent about 150,000 employees. And so getting their views on the table and having those discussed, I think, is very, very important.
I mentioned there were 4 executive orders that President Biden signed last Friday about the workforce. What do you make of the other 3?
Well, and I'll just quickly kind of run through those. In terms of the May 2018 executive orders, first thing I will say is that President Biden kept his promise. He said he was going to get rid of those, and he did. And the bottom line on those executive orders, Francis, is that agencies are now under orders to go back and follow the law by bargaining in good faith. Former President Trump's orders really tilted the scales heavily in favor of management. And President Biden getting rid of these executive orders simply restores balance as the law requires. Now, another one that I wanted to mention beyond the May 2018 and Schedule F is also the executive order that was passed by, or that was put in place by President Trump on diversity training. President Biden's decision to revoke the ban on diversity training for federal employees, I believe, really reflects his commitment to attacking systemic racism in our institutions. And I will tell you that NTEU certainly stands ready to help in that regard. Now, my view also is, and I'm sure people are aware of this, I've been pretty outspoken about it, any professional education program that helps us better understand and respect our coworkers of different races, genders, sexual orientations, gender identities, nationalities, or religious beliefs, I believe is a sign of progress in a civilized society, not a threat to it. And we believe that the federal workplace can and should lead in this effort.
I want to switch gears in the time that we have left, Tony. You represent a number of people in different parts of the Department of Homeland Security. Alejandro Mayorkas, the nominee to take over at DHS, talked about fixing the morale problem in his confirmation hearing. What do your members tell you would help morale at DHS? What can you do in working with Secretary Mayorkas if he's confirmed to do that?
Well, I will tell you that I think I can sum up pretty quickly the biggest morale issue at present by saying 3 words: Vaccines, vaccines, vaccines. This is the overriding concern right now. And I have to tell you, Francis, it is puzzling and disappointing, candidly, that DHS did not make these frontline employees a priority for getting vaccinated against COVID-19. It is far too difficult for them to get the vaccine, and DHS and CBP need to do something to change that. Now, beyond that, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Well, we just have a minute or so left, and morale's been a challenge in the units that you represent at DHS for a long time. So it strikes me vaccines certainly would be helpful, certainly would be useful, but this is a deeper issue than that, I imagine.
Well, it certainly is. And I will tell you, for example, at CBP, you know, one of the biggest issues confronting morale or causing morale issues is around the issue of staffing. There is a chronic staffing problem, Francis, in CBP. Now, I will say, over the last couple of years, it has gotten better, but it is still a major issue. And so why does that create morale problems? Because you often have staff that are required to work never-ending overtime. They are not in a situation where they're able to attend their children's sporting events, family events, those kinds of things, because they're required to work overtime. And it has taken a huge, or it has caused a huge problem for these employees. So I think funding and staffing certainly are related. And I think those, in large measure, are the cause of a lot of morale problems at CBP.
Tony, thanks very much for coming back. It's great to have you back on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, Francis.